That's right, brother. And we've known for years and years and years that an unconstitutional executive order or a presidential directive or executive agreement has no power whatsoever. It's unconstitutional. If you want to read about it, go to the Supreme Court case, Reed versus Covert, signed in 1956. And it goes ahead and states there that all of these things, if they're unconstitutional, they carry no weight. They are null and void.
But that's laws that are unconstitutional. This isn't even that. They just announce they're doing it.
Well, it's the same thing. I think executive order, presidential directive, executive agreement is not law either.
Yes, you're right.
And so anything the ATF says or local police or state police says that is unconstitutional is also null and void.
I know a lot of you are finally waking up. This is totally illegal. What are you going to do if you're ordered to do this? Or have you seen similar things? Or what's your take on this? 1-800-259-9231. Let's go to Pete in Michigan. Pete, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, thank God. Hey, I just want to tell you, you're my hero, man. You're awesome. I like everything you're doing, and I'm driving my girlfriend nuts listening to your show every day. But on the topic of this violation of our Second Amendment rights, I know somebody here in Michigan that was selling guns at his garage sale. Him and some of his neighbors put their guns together and was selling them, and the sheriff's department threatened to arrest him because they said he couldn't do that.
And there's no law in Michigan. I've looked at the law in Michigan, just like Texas, because I've seen so many cases like this in Michigan, that you can't sell your private arms. You just can't start buying guns in mass and making it a business, but you can get rid of guns when you need money, and people need money in this economy, and they just show up color of law and do this.
That's exactly what he was doing, and he wasn't selling assault rifles or anything. He was selling hunting guns, shotguns and 22.
It's not even that, sir. Listen. All guns are basically assault weapons the way they define them. Anything semi-auto. There's no law against that either. People don't know their rights. So now the police are so tyrannical in Texas with the feds, they just say, you're not going to sell them, period.
Yep. And I'll just tell you that, there's a lot of these people that are calling in and talking to you. I've heard them say a lot of good stuff about how, we're being violated. We need to rise up and go against them. But I've never heard anybody mention the law quo warranto, and I think that, Alex, you should research that. It's an Old English law. It's called quo warranto, and it's under the writ of mandamus. And basically, if any city, say the police come and they violate your civil rights, and the judge admits to it, then that city is dissolved. It no longer exists.
That's right. In the old times, if a lord, that's under Magna Carta, did something wrong, he would lose his lordship. Exactly. I appreciate your call, Pete. See, our ancestors have been through this over and over again. That's why those of us that study history know. Jack, comment on that.
Yes, they sure have, and I've been through it repeatedly. When I took a constitutional class as a cop in Phoenix and started upholding the Constitution, I was fired repeatedly for upholding the Constitution and telling my fellow officers not to do this and not to do that because it was unconstitutional. I was fired repeatedly. Now, they had to rehire me every time because the Civil Service Board in Phoenix said that Jack has a right to uphold his oath of office, and that's all I was doing. And so that's been 25 years ago, brother, that I was fired repeatedly for upholding my oath under the Constitution and telling my fellow officers. And
then you finally got medically retired.
Yeah, I was injured in the line of duty in 1986. Again, the final time, and the doctors knew that the chief of police, Ruben Ortega, was trying to get me killed because he told all the officers if Officer McLamb calls for a backup, don't go to his aid. And they put me down in the war zone of South Phoenix where almost daily you needed backups. And I was injured a number of times. But the last time I arrested a drug smuggler out of Mexico and was seriously injured in my back, shoulder, and neck. And so the city doctors said they were going to retire me out because they knew Chief Ruben Ortega was trying to get me killed.
Let's take another call.
He couldn't fire me. He couldn't keep me fired for upholding the Constitution.
And if more police would stand up together, we could turn this country back.
That's right, brother.
Let's go to Kevin in Nebraska. Kevin, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. Hi, Jack.
Hi.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that really it is vital that every time that they try to push something illegal, we need to contest it through the courts and through...
Yeah, they're trying to set a precedent through common law, through common practice.
Right, yes. And too bad the people... Yeah, it's too bad the people are not... The children are not taught the Constitution anymore in school, and they tell them the Founding Fathers all raped their slaves in the government school system, and demeaning our Founding Fathers so that the kids, if they hear anything good about the Founding Fathers, they will remember what the teacher told them, that they all raped their slaves. And
Kevin, I'm gonna hold you over so you can make your point, or go ahead and start making it. What if I say I'm not just another one of your slaves? We need to get the gun dealers, the gun shows, the gun shops all over the country to file torturous interference, civil rights violations, you name it, suits against the BATF and cities that unlawfully and illegally do this. You'll kill them in court. And the BATFE will come in and try to set you up and persecute you. But look, they're going to overrun everything if we don't start standing up to them as best we can. I mean, there's no doubt about these people. We have the gun show owner coming up in 30 minutes. I got Kurt Nimmo popping in briefly in the next hour. We've kept a couple phone lines open for police officers who call in all the time. But I guess you're scared to call in now. And I don't mean that as a taunt. I mean, people are so gelded. I know there's cops by the thousands listening right now who are against what's happening, and you haven't called in. 1-800-259-9231. I mean, are you outraged by this? Just no law? They just say you can't sell guns in Austin? They just, for folks that haven't seen the article in the public notice for selling of firearms, it's up on Infowars.com. Kevin, anything else for Jack McLamb?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think with American Center for Law and Justice and all kinds of other lawyers out there, a class action lawsuit would be viable against any level of the government and any agency in the government when they're doing stuff that's illegal. And that's one of the ways that we need to fight this, I think.
I appreciate your call. Under Bush, when they tripled the funding for the BATFE and started moving in with regulations instead of laws and just color of law, we knew the storm was coming. It's now here, Jack McLamb.
It certainly is, brother, and we have that tyrannical communist in office right now that are going to use these things because they've trained for the last 30 years the citizens in elementary school and in high school to not look at the Constitution anymore, look at international law is what they're teaching.
Well, Jack, look at New Orleans. First chance the feds had, they blocked food and water, went into the undevastated dry areas, into literal $10 million houses. The richest area, and handcuffed people and took their guns and treated them like criminals and never gave their guns back.
That's right. They should have been sued by all these rich people. All these rich people should have sued them.
They did, and the federal court said give them their guns back and damages, and the feds said we're not going to give them back.
Well, they're not above the law.
Well, the point is, they want our guns. They want our guns, and we know they're training to take them. And I've got mainstream news here, Jack. LAPD on course to take over Explorer program. And then we have the New York Times with scouts trained to fight terrorists and more. And it says they train to take on disgruntled vets who won't turn in their guns.
That's right. That's right. They're taking the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, too, and training them to use guns to take over, to help them take over the nation. And that is insane. I mean, it's absolutely insane, but it's totally tyrannical. It's the same thing happened in Germany during the Nazi regime and under Stalin, under the communist system in Russia, too, in East Germany.
And by the way, when you say they hired Primakov and Wolf, that was actually in the news. They really hired the former head of the KGB and the former head of the Stasi to come set this up, and this is exactly what they've done. I mean, they're really doing it.
Yes, and now we have lesbian Janet Napolitano, who's head of who's a CFR member, who's the head of the Homeland Insecurity, and she's got the Soviet-style totalitarian military rule system ready to go when communist abomination tells her to bring it into power.
Jack McLamb, we really appreciate you joining us and spending time with us, and we'll talk to you again soon, my friend.
Okay, God bless you, Alex, for what you're doing for God.